which means he was still at least in the lineup and a possibility. So hopefully he's all healed up and ready to go. I mean, I didn't think I would expect to say that based off the regular season, that I can't wait for Kevin Bieksa to get back in the lineup, but I feel like what he brings is going to be a nice calming presence to that bottom pairing and help out either Pettersson or Welinski, depending on who they keep. You'd probably think it would be Pettersson and Bieksa just to have a lefty and a righty on that bottom pairing.
Yeah, I don't see Welinski playing unless Bieksa is still not ready to go. I felt like he didn't have a great game. He's the one who popped the puck up when it was in the scrum in front of Gibson, then went right on Burns, bounced right in front of Burns, who had that crazy shot. Yes, through traffic. Yes, it was pretty lucky, right? But you got to get the puck out of the zone. That's going to be looked at by the coaching staff, too, is how they played under pressure. Then you got Pettersson, who took the first penalty of the game when he used a free hand to grab Timo Meier. But I would go with Pettersson. He just has more NHL experience at this point. And I don't know. You got to put a veteran on that. I know how much we've been saying everything we can possibly say against Kevin Bieksa. But, I mean, that third pairing is just not working. And they got to figure it out before Saturday.
They really felt the loss of Cam Fowler in this game. I mean, it's not that the defense was necessarily the issue for the Ducks, but you could really sense that his presence was missed. Just being able to get out of the zone cleanly, and just the way he helps the Ducks enter the offensive zone is something that they missed as well, because Montour can do it on occasion, Lindholm can, Manson has the ability sometimes, but Boschman, Pettersson, and Welinski aren't really going to be doing that a lot, and it sucks because it's not like we know he's going to be back. I mean, somebody had brought up in the chat that this series gets even harder when Joe Thornton is back in the lineup, which it looks like he's pretty close. The fact that he was out for warm-ups, it could be a possibility for Game 2. And here we are looking at a Cam Fowler knowing that he's going to be out for the majority of this series, if not the whole thing. So no light on the end of the tunnel for the Ducks blue line. They're going to have to work with what they have right now. And really the bright spot, again, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but the bright spot for the Ducks blue line right now is Kevin Bieksa. It's not like he's going to come in and be a savior, but I feel like he can at least add something that they didn't have in Game 1 and just relieve some of the pressure from the two kids they had out there.
Yeah, something's got to change. He went with the young kids, which we've all talked about. It'd be great to see what these young kids can do on the same defensive pair. But when you get caved in and you only play 12 minutes, it's a problem. Yeah. And I think the coaching staff's going to look at that and make a change. Not that I love Bieksa down there, but you got to have somebody in there with some experience and just see what there gets you, because it's a roll of the dice. I mean, it's hard to ask the top four to play any more than they already did. Manson, Lindholm, almost 24 minutes, 23 minutes. Montour, Boschman, 21 minutes, 24 minutes. A lot of time being logged by those guys. And it's going to be a long series if the Ducks can make it one, right? I mean, the Ducks got to get back in it here, but I feel like it has that vibe to me that it's going to be a long series. I don't think this is over by any stretch. But, let's see what Bieksa can do. He's had some time off. Maybe he's got some legs left in him. Moving on, let's talk about the penalties. We said it before. Lots of undisciplined play in this game. These penalties were pretty much warranted on all accounts, I feel like. I think the only one where the Ducks kind of got screwed was where Perry was the only one who went to the box when roughing against Eric Fair at the end, or 4.5 to go in the second period. Other than that, the penalties were pretty blatant in my eyes.
Yeah, they were. And I mean, that call on Perry was warranted, but they got shafted a bit that it wasn't coincidental minors, I think, on that play. But other than that, they were all penalties that they were bad, either bad plays by the Ducks in general or just a bad individual effort. I think on Kessler's part, that's on his shoulders. I think they're both interference calls, especially the last one. You just can't have that when there's still about 6 minutes left in the game, and I know it's a long shot to come back from 3-0, but that's enough time. Really, that is enough time to get back. If you get a goal, you can get some momentum going your way, pull the goalie, and you have a chance to maybe get back into it. But he takes just a dumb late penalty in the game, and it saps the rest of the energy the Ducks had out of the game, and there was really nothing he can get going. And this was a talking point that we had mentioned on this show, on our last post-game show, about discipline. If the Ducks can curb that going into Game 1, obviously it didn't happen, and that's something I think is at the forefront of what they're going to have to fix going into Game 2. I mean, you can't give this team in San Jose 6 opportunities on the power play, especially a 5-on-3, which ended up hurting the Ducks. I mean, they're just too deadly when you've got Evander Kane, Logan Couture, Pavelski, Brent Burns all in the same power play unit. Eventually they're going to hurt you. The Ducks got lucky, like I already said, that they only got one power play goal in this game because they looked good on the power play despite going 1-for-6. I feel like they had a lot of good opportunities and they couldn't really cash in.
No, and a power play is great if you can convert. So the Ducks aren't converting there. So if you're taking the other side of it and you're taking penalties, it's great that you're killing them. It's wonderful. But what you're doing at that point is you're just eating the clock when you're losing. So regardless if the Sharks aren't converting on these power plays, you take enough of them, you're taking a lot of 5-on-5 time out of your game and it's just undisciplined. I mean, it's hard to fault Ryan Getzlaf on the slash on Kevin LeBlanc. I mean, what was he supposed to do there? Let LeBlanc walk in on Gibby all alone?
Yeah.
But the 2 by Ryan Kessler, I mean, come on. You got to think better than that. Although, like we said, his line was great tonight. You got to be better than that. You can't have these undisciplined calls, and that kind of killed them, especially in the second period. They all fell apart. Obviously, that's when all the goals went in. But let's bring it back up to positive. We just bashed Kessler. Now let's talk great about him. Honestly, he did a hell of a job tonight. That line was wonderful tonight. I felt like it was all secondary scoring besides the power play, right? I mean, what are you going to do on Evander Kane's second goal?
Yeah, no, it was a bad line
3-on-1.
change. Yeah, it was a bad line change that led to a goal, and it just so happens that it was Kessler's line that was coming over the boards and is out there for the goal against. I mean, there's not much you can really do. Other than that, Pavelski, Kane, and Donskoy didn't have a lot going for them. They had the power play goal, and then they had this goal, which makes it look like they had a very good night because they contributed to 2 of the 3 goals. But they really didn't get much going because they were able to shut them down. It's just the offense wasn't there for this line. And Kessler was kind of a loose cannon, as I believe Matt said in the chat. And it kind of plagues the night that they had. But you look at the underlying stats, and they did a good job of preventing any offense 5-on-5 from this line. If they can continue this into Game 2 and the Ducks fix up the little things that are going wrong right now, this is a completely different outcome. And I'm not saying the Ducks are coming out 3-0 winners if they fix a couple things up, but this is definitely a closer game and what we expected, like a 2-1, a 3-2 game, where the Ducks' number one priority is shutting down Evander Kane, Pavelski, and Donskoy. And they did a good job of doing that in this game. And if you can do that through the entire series, it gives you a very good opportunity to win if your top line and Getzlaf, Perry, and Raquel can get going offensively, and if Henrique, Kasha, and Richie can turn things around after an awful game tonight.
Yeah, 100%. We have a lot to look forward to on Saturday. I expect a much different Ducks team.
Yeah.
I really do. And I expect this, honestly, the Henrique line to be better. I mean, Kasha ends up getting moved up on the top line. Perry gets slotted down. I don't think that was a knock on Perry's game. He wasn't amazing tonight, but I felt like Carlisle was just trying to cycle things up and get some speed on that top line because, I mean, that's what Kasha brings, obviously, and finishing ability. It's unfortunate it didn't click, but I expect a much better Henrique line out there. They were paired against the Sharks' third line of Timo Meier, Chris Tierney, and Kevin LeBlanc. Who, and who, if you're not from San Jose, right?
Yeah.
If you're not from San Jose, who are those guys?
Yeah, it's
I guess
a very
you could say the
young...
same thing for the Henrique line.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Henrique line's better. I really do. I felt like they should have played a much better game, and for whatever reason, they got outplayed.
Yeah, it's a very unique third line in San Jose where they've got a lot of guys who can get things done. I mean, LeBlanc has been good for them at times this season. Timo Meier is a unique guy where he was a top prospect, and he hasn't had a bad season. He's a 20-goal scorer, similar type of season to Andre Kasha. So he's an underrated guy, and Chris Tierney is a pretty good third-line center. But, I mean, you're right. Like, who, and who. These aren't the guys you expect to be dominating, and they were the Sharks' best line tonight, and they really victimized the third line for the Ducks. And it wasn't the only line that the Ducks' third line was matched against. They got beat up by the Sharks' fourth line as well, which is not something you would expect. The fourth line for the Sharks definitely isn't a strong line. But, I mean, they've got to turn something around. And we've seen this from Henrique's line a lot since they've been put together. There's some nights where they look unbeatable, and there's other nights where they just completely disappear and look like a shell of the line that we're used to. So, I mean, they got to get things going. This can't be a trend for them. This can't be consistent throughout the entire series because the Ducks need some depth scoring. I felt like Getzlaf, Perry, and Raquel looked pretty good tonight. Obviously, they didn't have their best stuff, but you know they're going to continue to bring on a nightly basis. If Kessler, Cogliano, Silverberg can continue to play defensively the way they did tonight, the Ducks are going to need that extra boost of offense if they're going to make anything out of this series.
No, I agree. It's funny that you say that third line was one of the better lines tonight for the Sharks, considering Evander Kane has his name on the score sheet twice. Yeah. And same with Pavelski. But it's like you look at that one bad line change by the Ducks and then the 5-on-3 power play. Outside of that, I don't feel like he was getting grade A chances. Mm-hmm. So he just made good on both of those, obviously. I mean, he converted, and that's the difference in the game. Going into to Saturday, I think that everyone should hold their head high. You have a lot to look forward to. Tonight was a bummer, but I feel like the Ducks are not out of it by any means. They're going to come back nastier. They're going to come back bigger. I feel like they're going to play a tougher game. I hope they stay out of the box. I don't really care about the hits, but what I mean by tougher is on the puck. Drive the puck in. Get to the front of the net. That's what I want to see from this team. They play a heavy game. Everyone says that. We need to see it. But not enough stuff in front of the net, in front of Jones. You didn't make him work hard enough, Anaheim, and it's disappointing. So hopefully the boys bring the game next game on Saturday. That's what I'm looking forward to here.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, it's statistically it's not a must win, but if you drop both games at home, I mean, it's extremely hard to come back. I'd be interested to know what the stats are for a home team that drops the first two games and for teams that have come back and actually won a series after that. I'm sure it's pretty low. It's got to be under 15% in my opinion, but it's a must win in all the sense of the word. On Honda Center, on home ice, you've got to, I mean, right now you've given up home ice essentially, even if you split the series right now, and then you've got to go to San Jose and at least take one away from them, and that's going to be tough. I mean, San Jose was a good team on home ice, but the Ducks were the better team, and they're going to have to show that in Game 2. Like you said, I expect a much better game from Anaheim, and Game 2, I feel like the things that went wrong in this game aren't necessarily massive things that can't be fixed. I feel like there are little tweaks here and there where they're going to look a lot better. And there's a lot of things that were one-offs, I feel like, in this game that you won't really necessarily see as a trend throughout the entire series. But it doesn't inspire confidence the way they played in this game. But we all hope for better on Saturday because it has to be. They can't just hope that things are going to be better. They're going to have to go into practice, fix these things up, and be ready to go right off the gate on Game 2.
Yeah, let's get to our chat, my friend. I think we bashed this loss as much as we possibly can and tried to get as much light out of it as possible to go to Saturday. So let's see what people are listening or who are listening have got to say about it.
Yeah, we got a couple questions in the chat. We have 2 from Chase, 1 from Drew, and 2 from Matt. So we'll start at the top. Chase asked, do you like Raquel in the left circle in the power play, or would you like Montour in there instead? And we've talked about this before, how the Ducks need a trigger guy, and we've brought up both of them before, and it looked like Raquel was kind of in that spot, I guess, on the power play. In my opinion, I think it fits Montour a bit better if you're looking for the shot from the top of the left circle, but if you're looking for a guy to make plays from there, then I'd put Raquel there, but it all depends on how they're going to set up. I like the shot from the top of the left circle. I like that option a lot better, especially if you're going to have Getzlaf on the opposite side, feeding it across to Montour. I feel like that opens up a whole new possibility for one-timers in the Ducks power play. So I would like Montour there. I don't know. What do you think?
We've seen it before, and It's been successful. It's been a while since it's been successful because obviously the power play is not really doing much. But, I mean, I'm all for changing it up to see if it works. Throw Raquel there and see if we can actually get a power play goal. The Ducks really desperately need one. But I have liked Montour there. It wouldn't be bad to see him stay there because he's got a nice shot, especially when he gets able to line up like that on the circle.
Yeah, I mean, something needs to change. They need to fix something to get this power play going. And, I mean, if we had a running count, this is probably the 100th time we've said that this season, even just the small amount of time we've been doing this show, and how the Ducks power play needs to change something up because they have the personnel for it to be a pretty decent power play. And I feel like the way both teams' power plays look up, if you looked at it on paper and you didn't look at where they were in the rankings, you would assume that it's pretty close. If not, the Ducks might have a slight advantage having some depth on both power play units, but that's not the case. They just haven't been able to get things going.
No, they haven't. And they haven't been making good on any of their chances either. Even when they have grade A chances, I feel like that power play just passes a ton.
Yeah, it's overpassing. We've mentioned that before, but let's move into Chase's second question here. He said, "Do you think Lindholm felt the pressure